Well, in the last session I have explained Android uses SQLite database to store the structured data, and also I have explained how to store data in SQLite database in a theoretical way. Okay, so today we will see how to implement the code to store data in SQLite database. Okay, remember SQLite database is used to store the structured data. It means suppose if you want to store a profile data, means you want to collect the data of profile data of some 10 students, for example. Okay, so and if you want to store it, so like you can't store the profile data like name, email, address, phone number, etc. So in a file you can store it, but while extracting the data it is tedious to read all those different parameters. Okay, so whenever you want to store the data which is in the form of tabular form, okay, so such type of data you can store it in a database. Okay, in your Android you can store it in a SQLite database. So let us start coding today. So if you want to store the data in database, as I explained in the previous session, Android provides one class. It is called as SQLite Open Helper. So first let us create that class. Select your package. In the same application I will do in the registration. I'll create the class. So select your package. You have to select the class here. Go to new option, select class. Okay, I'll give the name as my helper class. My helper. Click on finish. So your helper has to extend the SQLite Open Helper. Can you see this? SQLite Open Helper. So it is showing one error here. Keep the cursor there. It is asking you to add the constructor. So I will add the constructor here. So and again it is showing the error. You can check what is the error. It is asking you to add the unimplemented methods. So add that. So it has added two methods, that is on create method and on upgrade method. Okay, so here you can use this constructor. If not, you can go with the default constructor also. So if you are using this constructor, means it's a predefined parameterized constructor. Then if you are using or if you are creating any object for this class, means you have to pass context, your database name, and cursor factory, and also version. Okay, so you can see on create method here. So this is the first method which has been called after your constructor. So here it is providing you the SQLite database variable, so using which you can create the table inside your database. Okay, so let us try to do that. First we have to create the table. Okay, and then you have to insert data to the table. So now let us create the table first. Remember, you have to create the table inside the on create, because here you are getting the access to your database. So it is a standard method, like you can create the database, the standard syntax in almost all the languages. So I will go with the standard syntax. So take one string variable here. Okay, I'll give the name as str. So here the string, like how to create the database. For that, the standard format is create table. Okay, give the table name. I'll give the name as my table. You can give any name. Okay, so then you have to define the columns. So for that I'll put the brackets here. See, you can take the column names in a different variables. Okay, you can define some variables here with column names and also your table name, etc. But I'll go with the one statement because it will be easy for you guys. If not, you have to concatenate some strings and all. So but you have to remember, this is your table name, and whatever I will define inside these brackets will be your column names and different types what they will intake. Okay, so here I will define the first column, so I will name it as column 1. Okay, so now this is column 1, but what you can store inside that column 1. Okay, so I will make this column 1 as a ID. It means we can store ID inside the column 1, so it will store the integer value. It will store the integer value, and I want this particular column should be unique. Means ID should be unique for all the contacts, so that whenever I want to extract any contact, I can extract it using the ID. Okay, so for that you have to make this column as a primary key. Okay, remember, this is your first column. The name of the first column is column 1. If not, you can make it as ID also, it is your wish. This is the column name ID, and then it will take integer as an input, and it is a primary key. It means it will be unique. Okay, now after that put the comma so that you can start the second column. The second column will be name. Okay, this is my second column, and the input for this column will be text. You need not to put the primary key here because already we have the primary key. So I'll go with the next column. That is we are storing age, so that also I will take it as text. Okay, then I will end the statement here. Remember, we have to create the table, so for that I am creating one string with create table, give the table name, and then your first column name, the type which it will take, then it is a primary key, and then your second column name, then the input type, and third column input type. So this is the string. Now if you perform query on this string, then the table will be created inside your database. Okay, so here is your database instance, copy that. Okay, so using that it is execute SQL. Okay, so and you just pass the string. So this will create a table with this name and these columns. Okay, so now we have created the table. So it means whenever you create an object of this class, at that time your constructor will be executed, then your onCreate method will be executed, and it will create the table that is called as your my table with 3 columns. One is ID, then name and age. Okay, now let us try to insert the data into this particular table. For that you have to create one method. Okay, don't bother about this on upgrade method. I'll explain what is this in the later session. So now I'll create one method. I'll make it as public void add data. Okay, see, if you want to add the data, how many values you need? You need the ID, you need name, and you need the text. As we made ID as a primary key, it will be auto incremented, so you need not to select the ID. You need not to give the ID to the table. So you need name and age. Okay, so for that, here I will take two input parameters, that is I will take two string variables, string name and string age. Okay, now how to insert data into the data table? For that, first you have to get the writable database. Means you should get the permission to write the data into the database. For that, SQLite database, I'll give it as SQDB is equal to this context dot get writable database. Okay, so now after getting the database, you have to add data to the table. But remember, we have two fields here, two columns, so you have to add data to two columns, that is name and age. So here you can directly add it, but suppose if you have more than two columns, or if you have 10 columns, now how to add? Is it possible to add the data to each column every time? So it is difficult to do that. So instead of that, what we can do is, Android provides one more option called as content values. Okay, content values, I'll give the name as vals is equal to new content values. See, the use of this content value is you can store the values related to these particular columns in the form of key value pair. It means key will be the column name, okay, and value will be whatever the value you want to insert into that particular column. For example, now I want to insert data into the first column, that is name. Okay, so for that, values dot values dot put, can you say this? It is asking for string key and then the value, different types of values you can find it here. Okay, you can select any one. Now the key will be, what is the key? As I told, it should be the column name. Here is your column name. Okay, I'll copy that column name here, and then value will be whatever the value you get it from your activity. Okay, end the statement. Now in the same way, we have to add one more value, that is values dot put. The second column name is your age, so copy that and put the age here. We are getting the age from your activity, so we have to put that here. Okay, I will repeat this. See, to write data into the database, first we have to create the table. Already we have created with 3 columns, ID, name and age. Now we have to insert data into this table. For that we have created one method, so where we are getting the access to the database, and then instead of adding values one by one to columns, so what we are doing is we are taking an object of content values. Through this object, if not, we are adding our content to this object in a key value pair. It means the key will be your column name and the value is whatever the value you have to insert into that particular column. So like this, you will add the key value pair into content values, and then you will pass these content values to the SQLite database so that it can insert data with respect to the columns. Okay, so for that we have to perform one query, that is I will take this is the database we have, copy that. Okay, so your database dot, you have to perform the query, that is insert. Okay, so when you put the insert, it is asking for the table name, to which table it has to insert the data. Remember, here is your table name, so copy that. So this is why that's why I used to say whenever you are doing this type of functionalities, better you have to define the variables separately, like your table name, it should be one string variable, or your column name, it should be a variable. Like that, if you define, it will be very easy to code. So not an issue. Okay, here it's very simple. We don't have much code here, so here you can do it. So this is the table name. I'll copy that and I'll paste it here. Okay, so and the null column back we don't have as of now. I'll pass the value as null and then values. So whatever the values you want to insert into that particular table, that is our content values. Okay, so end the statement. So this will insert the data into the database. Okay, so now let us see how to send data from your page, that is your home page. So here is your home page. Okay, so when we have to send the data, so whenever user clicks on the submit button, at that time we have to collect data from edit text. Already we are collecting it here. Instead of storing it in shared preference, so what we have to do, we have to store it in a database. Okay, so for that I will remove all this code. So here we are collecting the data from the edit text name and edit text age. So after that I'll create the object for our myHelper class. Okay, myHelper, I will give the name as helper is equal to new myHelper, but it is asking for some parameters. Okay, the first one is the context. So context I'll give it as home.this. Then the table name, sorry, if not database name. Okay, I'll give the database name as my database. Okay, so factory you need not to worry as of now. I'll give it as null because we are not creating multiple tables here. So and version I'll give it as 1, our first version. Okay, so why we need this version means, suppose now if you are upgrading your application, okay, and if you want to update your database also, so at that time this version will help you to retain the previous data and you can upgrade it to new version by adding your previous data also. So for that purpose you need the version. It's also having much more benefits, okay, that we can discuss later. So as of now we have created the object of our helper class. Now using this helper you can insert the data. So helper dot add data. So it is asking for the name and age. So what is your name? This is the name you have collected and this is the age we have collected. So end the statement. Okay, so remember whenever Android executing this particular statement, at that particular statement you can look at here. If I click here, it will go to this place. Okay, and with this information, whatever the information you are passing, okay, with this information it will pass those information to your super class. Okay, and your super class, after getting this information, it will give the access to your database. If not, it will give database variable, that is your SQLite database variable. With that variable you can create the database here. Okay, so now let us see whether it is working or not. Okay, so I will try to execute this application. Here it is. Select the application and run the application. So here is your application. Okay, I will enter the name. Okay, and I will enter the age as 26. Okay, and I'll click on submit button. Okay, but we haven't shown any message here saying that the data has been stored into database. So now where to see whether the data has been stored in database or not? Okay, so for that go to DDMS. Remember, select your device and select your file explorer. The data will be always stored in your internal memory and inside a folder called as data folder. Okay, open the data folder. I will repeat it once again. Select the emulator, go to file explorer, open data folder. Okay, so inside the data folder you have one more folder called as data. Open that, and here it contains the package names. Okay, so now just check the package name of your application, that is com.example.registration. So open that package name. See, whenever I started Android application course, I have explained whenever you are creating your application, the package name should be unique. Okay, so because of this purpose, whatever the data your application carries, it will be stored inside the package name only. Okay, so that's why the package name should be unique. Okay, so our package name is Android com.example.registration. Okay, search for the package name. Here it is. So open that. Okay, so inside that you will find the databases. So open the databases. Can you see that? So this is the database which we have created, that is my database. Now how to open this? Because this database is inside your emulator, but you can't see the database, you can't open inside the emulator itself. So how to do that? For that you can select this file, okay, and you can pull that file from the emulator to your computer. Remember, this is inside the emulator. Now we are trying to extract that file from emulator and we will store it into the desktop. Okay, so click on this. Okay, here I'll select the desktop and this is your database name. Click on save. Okay, you can check it out here. My database, it is on the desktop. Now if I double click on this, so it is asking using which platform it has to open. Okay, suppose if I select all these platforms, okay, suppose if I use something like Notepad, you can check it out. Can you see that? Is it in a proper format? No. Okay, so for that purpose you are okay, for that you have to use one specific tool. Okay, that is I will show here. It is SQLite database browser. Okay, you can download this from internet, SQLite database browser, and just open this. Okay, and click on file, open the database. Now select your database, that is my database. Select that, open. Can you see that? When you open that, it is showing your table, that is my table. Open that. It contains 3 fields, that is ID, which is of type integer and it's a primary key, and it contains name, which is of type text, and age, which is of type text. Okay, now if you want to see the data which is present inside this, click on browse. Okay, so select your table. Can you see that? We have added only one value, that is Sam, with the age 26. Okay, and also you can use the queries here. Okay, like select star from this table. Okay, all those queries you can enter here. Suppose select star from my table. Okay, so if you execute this query, it will show the data which is present in that particular table. Okay, like this you can use the SQLite database browser to see the data which is been present inside your database. Okay, so this is one way. So if you don't have this software, then also you can like you can see the data which is present inside this particular database. Okay, but remember this path, it is inside the emulator, inside the SQLite database, and inside the folder called as data, then inside the data and under your package name. Okay, so I will show how to see this in command prompt. Okay, open the command prompt first. See, here it is showing some location, but first you have to go to your location where you have stored your Android SDK. It means, see, I have stored my SDK inside the G drive. Okay, it is inside the G drive and inside the folder called as latest Android dev. Sorry sir, sold out. Open this new folder. Inside that you will find ADT bundle. So here is my SDK. So open the SDK and inside that you will find the platform tools. Okay, so these are the tools which helps us to execute Android applications or to communicate between from your Eclipse to emulator, all those things. Okay, so now using this path we have to see the database which is present inside the inside our application. Okay, so for that first you have to navigate to this particular place, because using these tools, like you can find the tool here ADB, using this tool only you can see the database inside your application. So for that first you navigate to this particular location. Remember, this is the place where you have stored your SDK. So let us navigate to this place first. So it is inside the G drive. Okay, so navigate to G first, then I will change the directory to latest Android dev, then CD new folder, then change directory to Android bundle, then change directory to your SDK, then change directory to platform tools. Then here you have to execute some commands. Okay, you can make a note of these commands. Okay, the first command will be like this: adb -s, then we have to edit the emulator here. So emulator, okay, what is the emulator number? Check it out. It is 5554. So emulator 5554, then put shell adb-s emulator -5554 shell, enter. So now you are inside the your emulator. Okay, but after getting into the emulator, where is the data? It is inside the data folder. Okay, for that purpose change directory to data folder. Inside the data you have one more folder called as data, so get into that folder. Now check what is there inside this data folder. Type ls, so it will show the list of packages here. Can you see that? All these packages. In this, what is our package name? It is com.example.registration. Can you see this here? So now change the directory to that. cd com dot example dot registration. Okay, so enter. Now we are inside the inside our package, inside our application package. So now check what is there inside this. Type ls. Can you see this? You have the databases here. So let us change the directory to databases. So now we are inside the database. Check what is there inside this. Here inside that you have the my database. This is the database which we have created. Okay, now we have to open this database and we have to see the data which is present inside this database. For that you have the command, that is sqlite 3, okay, space, give your database name, my database, enter. Okay, can you see that we are inside the inside our database, and it is asking if you want any help, execute the command .help for instructions. If not, if you know any commands, you can type the command and it has to end with the semicolon. Okay, let us see what it will give in the help. Can you see that it is showing some commands here? Okay, so if you want to see the databases, put .database. Then if you want to exit, put .exit. Then what else? If you want to see the tables, like you have something called as .tables. Okay, so all these commands you have. So now let us see the schema. Like what is the schema? Schema. First, before that, let us see what are the databases present inside this. Okay, for that tables. Okay, so this database contains only one table. The table name is my table. Okay, so now let us see the schema of this table. Means how many columns are there. Okay, so what are the types, input types it will take. So all those things you can see in the schema. So for that, type schema. Can you see this? This is how we have created the table. Create table, my table. First column is ID, which takes the integer and it's a primary key. Then name of type text, age of type text. Now we understood the schema here. So our next step is we have to see the data which is present inside this. Okay, so for that you have to execute a command that is select star from my table. Okay, we did a mistake here. We have to end with semicolon. Can you check it out here? So your table contains only one row, okay, with ID 1. Then you have the name as Sam, and the third one is age is 26. Okay, so this is how you can use the command prompt to see the data which is present inside your database. So this is how we can store data into the database. So in the next session I will show how to read data from database.